Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Balmani.
Good evening, everyone. Success doesn't come and find you. You have to go out and get it. With this quote in mind, we shall start today's webinar. I am Simrin, IEEE MC student branch Hassan, will be your host for this evening. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm and cordial welcome to all the dignitaries, members, and the students present in the webinar on Possible Career Pathways for Engineering Graduates, organized by IEEE Bangalore section and IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Bangalore, co-hosted by IEEE Mysore subsection and coordinated by IEEE MC student branch. IEEE Mysore subsection installation, one among the three subsection of IEEE Bangalore section. The aim of IEEE Mysore subsection is to conduct various students and professional activities like invited talks, student internships, workshops, and flagship conferences. IEEE Mysore subsection consists of Mysore, Mandya, Hassan, Chamarajanagar, and Kodagu district. Mysore subsection has 26 engineering colleges with 14 IEEE student branches and more than 1,000 IEEE members. Now, I request all the participants to stay on mute for the smooth conduction of the event. Now, I would like to present the welcome address. I am privileged to welcome today's eminent speaker, Dr. YVS Lakshmi, Group Leader, IPR Marketing and Knowledge Management Group, C. Bangalore. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, I heartily welcome our esteemed speaker, Mr. Farhan Firak, founder and CEO Microchip Payments, distinguished alumnus and former data scientist. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Simran.
Now, it's time to welcome our honorable speaker, Ms. Ratnaprabha Sable, founder and managing director, Vividhita. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Simran. Thank you, everyone.
It is always a great pleasure to welcome the chair of IEEE Mysore subsection, Dr. Bindu A. Thomas, professor and head, Department of ECE, VBIT Mysore. Welcome you, ma'am.
Simran, thanks all.
I heartily welcome the chair-elect, Dr. Parmeshachari BD, professor and head, Department of Telecommunication, GSSIE, Mysore. Welcome you, sir. I also welcome Dr. P.C. Shrikant and Dr. Indira Bahadur, ma'am. Welcome you, sir. Welcome you, ma'am. Also, a warm welcome to all the EXECOM members. On behalf of IEEE Bangalore subsection, I heartily welcome all the participants to today's webinar.
Then we have Dr. Anandi, the chair of WI. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am.
WI.
Now, it's time to introduce our speaker, Ms. Ratnaprabha Sable. Ms. Ratnaprabha Sable has worked with Times of India Group Company, Times Internet Limited and online job board timesjob.com. She has more than 12 years of rich experiences of corporate world in jobs and recruitment industry. She has a wide network of corporate and candidates alike. She is passionate about recruitment, creating diversity and promoting inclusion at workplaces. Her love for travel has taken her different countries around the globe, such as the USA, UK, Ireland, Thailand, Netherlands, Germany, Dutch Republic, and Greek. Ms. Ratnaprabha Sable has launched her company Vividhata, which specializes into diversity hire for corporates all over India. She strongly believes that at an organization, diversity is inherent and inclusion is imperative. Her professional experiences are former Zonal Manager, Mumbai, TimesStop.com, at Times Internet Limited, at Times of India Group Company. Her educational achievements are Master in Marketing Management from JBIMS, Jamnalal Balaji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. Bachelor of Engineering Specialization Information Technology from TSES, Tadoma Shahani Engineering College, Mumbai. It was my pleasure to introduce you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request our speaker, Ms. Ratnaprabha Sable, to take over the session.
Thank you, Simran, for that lovely introduction. Thank you, everyone. I think I'll just put my video on so that you guys can see me. Just let me know if you can see me. All right. So, hi, everyone. And thank you, Bindu ma'am. Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Thank you, Anandi ma'am, for having me here. It's really an honor to share the panel with two of my co-panelists, Mr. Farhan and Lakshmi ma'am as well. So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity, and I really, hope that through this session I'm able to give my 2 cents of knowledge that I have, gathered in so many years of my work experience, and I just hope that everyone is able to learn something or the other from this session. Yeah. So with respect to my company, I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit more about my company, a little bit more about myself. Of course, Simran has given me like a very good introduction and all, but yet I'd like to, tell you a few things that nobody knows, right? So of course I'm an engineer. Of course I'm an MBA as well. But when it comes down to Ratna as a person, well, I have always been passionate about human resources, right? Which is why over a period of time, or rather, I have always been passionate about interacting with people and ensuring that there is a personal connect with people and trying to understand people's psyche and so on and so forth, right? So which is why throughout my engineering days, I think my agenda was to kind of make sure that I'm clearing all the subjects, I'm not getting any KTs, nothing like that, and I'm sure I'm just trying to get through the engineering course, right? But at the end of it, towards the final year, I knew that I wanted to, probably the most important thing that I wanted to do is is going to be dealing with people, right? And which is why so I've done IT engineering, and which is why coding was something that I didn't want to do, because that would be dealing with computers and dealing with the machines, right? So I had decided that I wanted to move out and I wanted to do something else, right? And that's how the real Ratna had to actually come out. I'm sure everyone's seen that movie, where you realize that there are so many movies currently which will tell you that, okay, there's a lot of people who get into engineering due to peer pressure, due to parental pressure, and so on and so forth. The one thing that I think, even today, even though I'm not doing anything related to engineering as a subject with respect to my work, I still, every day of my life, I still thank my decision, that I had taken back then, that okay, let's do engineering, let's be an engineer and everything, because of the simple reason that every day in life there are so many logical decisions that you have to make, right? And every day in life is going to be a different challenge altogether, where you may have to take some or the other decision, you may have to go through a lot of hardships, a lot of hard work. And throughout the engineering, 4 years of engineering, right? 4 years of engineering, you learn so much around, enduring that turmoil, enduring that hard work, and going through those lectures, those practicals, and your day is packed, right? And I'm sure even though you guys are currently learning from home, learning on this online platform, I'm sure still it is extremely, extremely difficult to manage. You don't really have your own me time or anything of that sort, right? You just have to study, you just have to ensure that you're working hard and getting your numbers and all of that, right? So point is that throughout those 4 years of engineering, you end up doing so much hard work that after graduating, you don't want to leave that hard work, and you don't want to leave that consistent amount of time that you spend with respect to working itself, right? So my point is that every day in my life, I think I'm thankful that I am an engineer, And with respect to today's topic, possible career pathways for engineering graduates, I think there are ample amount of career pathways for engineering graduates. Engineers are everywhere today. You look into the finance industry, you look into the IT industry, you look into the FMCG industry, you look into obviously core engineering subjects, you will have engineers there. But trust me, guys, don't ever think after graduation, oh, what after engineering? You don't have to think that way. There are ample career opportunities out there. I've been into the recruitment industry for quite some time now. And throughout my career, one thing I have always got from HR managers, from recruitment managers who speak with me on a day-to-day basis, and they say, okay, what is the preferred candidate that you're looking at? Oh, let's look at an engineer plus MBA finance, or oh, let's look at an engineer for this particular role. Oh, let's look at an engineer for, say, a management-related role, right? So engineers are everywhere, and the career opportunities are ample. That's one thing that you all need to know. Okay, today I have my friends from college, from engineering college. Today they are everywhere. Some of them, of course, have gone ahead and done MS, and they're settled, well settled abroad. Some of them are still here in India, and they have their own businesses. Some of them are doing digital marketing. Some of them are working with banks. Some of them are working with companies which are credit rating agencies, CRISIL and the likes. So engineers are absolutely everywhere, and you really don't need to think twice before when you're moving out and when you're looking out for career opportunities. Of course, if you obviously have to identify what is it that you really want to do after engineering, what is it that really is your interest, right? So that's probably the first thing. And then once you've identified, then okay, this is the paths that you need to take, and this is the specializations that you want to take up, and so on and so forth. MS, trust me, MS is a very, very good opportunity to go abroad, to kind of have a good settled career abroad, and so on and so forth. But even staying back in India, don't ever think that that's going to be of any you're not good enough or anything of that sort. These things you have to put absolutely out of your mind. A few things I'd like to quickly talk about. So one is that with respect to skill sets that are currently in demand, okay, so we do recruitments on a day-to-day basis, even when it comes to engineering graduates or generic graduates also, for that matter. We always want people who have a certain type of skill set, right? And these skill set of late have been really in demand. Everything to do with data analytics, everything to do with Python, R, SAS, artificial intelligence. These are subjects that are really, really in demand at this point of time. Very, very highly paid jobs. And engineers, again, are preferred primarily because of their number crunching abilities, as well as the fact that they have their logic in place. Logic is all the time the most important when you're looking at these kind of roles, right? Other than that, there was a few things that I was discussing with Bindu ma'am as well in some of our previous discussions. That so as a company, Vividhata, like I was talking to you guys about Vividhata as well. We're primarily into diversity hiring. Okay, now this concept is extremely, extremely new. And we're pretty much the pioneer in the industry when it comes to diversity hiring. Of course, diversity hiring with respect to women, gender diversity creation was always there, and it's probably taken, it's probably become even more important as on today. However, what my company primarily focuses on is LGBTQ community and people with disabilities, and providing job opportunity to these candidates as well, right? Now, when it comes to women, and when we work with companies on a day-to-day basis with respect to women hiring or gender diversity for that matter, all jobs that are with respect to engineering, or rather STEM, right? So science, technology, engineering, math, these are the subjects that women, if you're a woman and if you're into these subjects, if you're into core engineering, if you're into mechanical engineering, civil engineering, if you're into or I'm sorry, is there someone trying to say something? Yeah, so if you're into core engineering subjects, then those are also, very very highly paid, especially when it comes to women. There are companies who come to us and say, okay, in our company we just have more number of men, and there is no diversity ratio that is maintained, and hence we want to hire more and more women in our organization. So trust me guys, if you're a woman, if you're a girl, and if you really are into any of these specializations, then you should stick to those specialization, unless of course you're like me and you want to move out and you want to do completely something different, right? So these are super super, highly paid jobs in the industry at this point of time. Apart from this, I also wanted to talk to you guys about careers in design engineering. I don't know how many of us really know about design engineering as a subject, but design is everywhere, and it's a separate, specialization that actually you can do post any of the core engineering subjects. If you are doing any of the core engineering subjects, you can you can graduate to going into design engineering and do a specialization as well. So now specialization in design engineering, why I'm saying this is because, again, this design, like I said, is everywhere. Design is in the design of a chair, design is in a computer, design is in the design of a bridge, all of that, right? So design engineering is something that currently has absolutely picked up, especially when it comes to again, I'm going to try and focus on women as a whole, and kind of opportunities for women. So it is really really, these focus areas are absolutely important if you really want to get into design engineering, and if you want to progress with respect to a career into design engineering as well. The other skills, now I'll just want to quickly highlight that once you graduate and once you get into the industry, whether or not you've done an MS, you've done an MBA or not, even if you're a pure graduate, pure engineering graduate, you still need to know a few things really well. See, in curriculum, academics, not many of us really go into the actual coding, or chalo theek hai, assignment kar liya, you're doing your homework, you're doing your assignments, you're doing your basic exams are getting cleared and all of that. So that's one way of doing your engineering. The other engineers are those who are toppers and who really have interest in coding, right? And these again, when you have interest in coding, you should keep doing different types of self projects as well. These self projects ultimately can go onto your resume, and you can showcase those during your interviews as well. Not only your interviews, during your if you want to go in for MBA, or if you want to go into MS and everything, those kind of projects, if they are still live, if you make, for example, you make an app, you make a website, you make it live, and you still, it's still there, and if it's working absolutely fine, then that's something to add on to your resume, and you can actually showcase those things during an interview, right? Other than that, some of the most important skill sets that are absolutely required in the industry are basic, no, in fact, advanced Excel skills. Okay. I have had engineers and I have had MBAs who have come to me, who have, probably even cleared all the tests and everything, but they can't use Excel, and they can't use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP and pivoting and making graphs and tables and whatnot. These are really important because they are part of your presentation skills. Okay, PPT making or graphic designing. These are simple skills which can be acquired over your student, your period of education itself. And that's when, and in fact, right now, since everyone is working as studying from home, and there's sometimes quite a lot of time that is there, which is ample at your hand, and you can actually use those to do these courses from multiple. There are multiple courses actually right now available online, and you can keep doing those courses, but do them seriously. Don't just do them for the heck of it, for the sake of the certificate. Do them seriously, do, because they are going to be of use to you later on in your life, right? So anything from having like an advanced Excel skill set, advanced Excel skills, or for that matter your PowerPoint skills. Because a few things that are required all the time in corporates is to be able to articulate what you're thinking, be able to showcase what you want to talk about with respect to your concept. You should be able to present that in a very in a very organized and a nice manner, in order for others to understand what you're really saying, right? So which is why these skill sets are really really important. So I think I want to end it there, and I'm sure there's lots more to learn from Mr. Farhan and Lakshmi ma'am as well. So I really want to hear everyone else as well. If there are any questions, I can probably take them now, or I can even take them at the end of the session. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Thanks IEEE, and thanks Bindu ma'am, and thanks Lakshmi ma'am as well, and Anandi ma'am. I hope I was audible.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. It was wonderful. Sorry, I'm taking over because I don't know what is the status. So anyway, I'm part of WI. I feel I'm also a host. Thanks. It was wonderful. I'm sure they have to take notes of what you. Yeah. Okay. Simran, if you don't, I will go ahead because I have a back-to-back meeting after this.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was indeed an informative session. Now, I request everyone to turn on the video for virtual photo session.
Okay. Hi, Anandi. How are you? Good to see you. You're on mute. I think in the empty slots, we can keep the IEEE logo and go ahead with the photo.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. YVS Lakshmi ma'am, Group Leader IPR Marketing and KMG Bangalore. Dr. Lakshmi received MSc Engineering and PhD from EC Department, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Completed basic course on IPR conducted by WIPO. Completed PG Diploma in IPR Law from NLSIU, Bangalore. Gained more than 20 years experience in this telecom industry in quality, reliability, failure analysis, corporate functions, IPR, training and teaching technology marketing. Currently, Group Leader IPR Marketing, Knowledge and Management Group and Vigilance Officer at C.Dot Bangalore, which is engaged in development of various projects at the frontier of telecom technology in the areas of optical communications, next generation network and
Simran, sorry to
wireless
interrupt
technology.
you. Simran, sorry to interrupt you. I think I have given you a very
Yes, ma'am.
long biodata. It's okay. I think I will go ahead and say what I have to. Thank you so much. Maybe you should approve me further. That doesn't
It
matter.
was very pleasure to introduce you, ma'am. Go ahead. I will
Yeah, thank you.
take
Thank
over
you.
the section, please.
Yeah, thank you, Simran. Yeah. So I can share my screen. So,
Yes, ma'am.
why I'm not able to share? You're able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Thank you so much. Good evening to one and all. And thank you, Madam Ratna. It was wonderful. A very bubbling talk from you. I'm sure all the young engineers would have got excited about it. Mine is a very, what do you say, just a tip of the iceberg. I would like to just touch upon a few things the budding graduates need to think about. Basically, I am from, as you know, I'm from the government, so I'm looking at these areas. Basically, I'll be talking about apprenticeship in government organizations, advantages of cracking GATE, and other parts like marketing law, etc. So basically, coming to apprenticeship in government organizations, there is a website called BOT, Board of Apprentices Training, it is called, and SRP is the Southern region. So engagement of apprentices by the employer, direct campus selection from engineering, polytechnic colleges, or through own advertisement by the organization in participating, centralized pattern of selection of apprentices are organized by board. So what happens is either like big organizations like Bell, HAL, everybody they would advertise, or like C dot, we will pick up from the board website the students and we do our own interviews and pick them up. And in places like Bell and HL, they almost take 500 to 600 students across the country. So this is what is about the boat, and anybody can who are interested, they have to go and register there, and you will get to. And this is basically only for a 1 year program where you learn on the job training you get. And since you are working with major public sector units, you will get to know a lot of things. And at the same time, you can also keep trying to apply outside, and any point of time, if you get a good job, you can always leave. And there is no binding from the office, they have to immediately release you. Also, they do pay very good package, maybe 15 to 20,000, and you will be learning a lot. This is what I would like to say for the apprentice program. So what are the advantages of cracking GATE? Many times I feel I'm not sure. People are afraid to take up GATE. I don't know why, but if by preparing for GATE and clearing GATE, may possibly you need not do a post graduation, but you can always take up jobs, because a lot of organizations, like for example, IOCL, ONGC, and they all recruit eligible applicants through GATE only. So they have made GATE as the benchmark. So even DRDO, for example, the defense organizations, eligibility criteria and application process is like this. And every year they do take people, and you have to watch out for the advertisements. And basically, these are some of the eligibility criteria. You have to be an Indian national, and a candidate must have scored a minimum of 60% of marks in the qualifying exam. And the application forms are tentative to be available from March, April onwards. And those who have cleared GATE in February 2021, I think should be able to apply for these. Otherwise, every year it does come. So you can, and generally GATE happens sometime in February. I think Anandi can correct me if I'm wrong. So sometime then, and March, April, I think the scores are out, and most of these organizations also come up with their advertisements to pick up students. So, and the packages in all these firms is really very good. And definitely, and more than that, you do learn a lot of things in these organizations. So again, this is a DRDO selection process in Sally. The shortlisted candidates are basis of GATE scores. And sometimes there will be a descriptive examination. Of course, there is a personal interview which happens at Delhi. And the offer of appointment to select and restricted number of vacancies. And the number of vacancies, total posts are expected to be 160. Almost every year they do take 100 people. And the salary allowance is really very good. And it comes to almost 15,000 to 15,600 as a basic and a grade pay of 5,400. The other parts like marketing, IPR law, etc. So many students are interested in going for management studies like the business management or uh, things like that, or doing a HR specialization in finance. I mean, all these are possible. So when it happens that what I see is there's also a lot of programs. There is a CAT exam available for people to go ahead and do that and join any of the IIMs. And not only IIM, again, CAT is people do take the score. Other universities also do consider that. And this is another program which I came up recently. I think it started recently. I'm not very sure. IEEE Rutgers Mini MBA program designed to help technical professionals to bridge the gap between business and engineering. This is very interesting, and it is only a 3-month course. And somebody interested can always take up, as Madam Ratna was suggesting. This is, you need to acquire other skills in order to be more current in the market. And also now Google and others, they give a lot of programs like digital marketing certification programs by Google, and there are many more. So many a time the your resume will be much more current, or I would like to call it as green, when we apply for jobs. And these are what I have mentioned below are some of the trending courses in the field of law. So the PG diploma in intellectual property, like what we need to understand is all these, the basic degrees, that you need a basic degree. So that is why many people go for uh, from engineering, then they can go to these courses: PG diploma in intellectual property rights, certificate in IPRs, certificate in IPR and patents law, and a lot of LLM in intellectual property and trade law. There are a lot of things which can be done. And this is why the engineering background is required. You all know that most of the inventions are always based on technology. So you need to learn the skill of the legal aspect, so that the techno-legal, you can become a techno-legal expert. And that's when you can bridge the gap between the engineer and the lawyer. So these are very well sought after, and really a lot of IP attorneys are really paid well. And if you have a passion towards law, I think this is a good way to go ahead. This is a very important, if somebody is interested in filing patents and other things. Patent agent exam is a very interesting one. So the person should be here. This patent exam is done by the uh, IP India office, and the person should be a citizen of India, have completed 21 years of age. And the person should have completed a degree in either engineering, science, technology from any university. So you should see the importance given to the science and technology. So the patent agent cannot be having any other degree apart from science and technology and engineering. So once he becomes a patent agent, the final year students can also apply for registration of patent agent. And the patent agent exam happens, I think, every 2 years. And once you become the patent agent, you can also legally, you can also work in the courts for any of the litigations in the patent arena. So that's all I had. Thank you very much. I can take questions if any.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was indeed an informative session. Now, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Farhan. Okay. On behalf of IEEE Bangalore session, we would like to present virtual memento as a token of gratitude. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
It was indeed an honor and pleasure to be with all of you.
Now, it's time to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Farhan Farik. Mr. Farhan Farik currently serves as founder and CEO of Microchip Payments. He is a creator of WisePay, a Wise AI mobile payment platform which helps to transact without the internet using UserWise. His company is funded by Deshpande Startup and the government of Maharashtra and Karnataka through the grant awards. His work is also featured in both Indian and US-based media outlets and recently won an international award. Farhan was also invited by Indian High Commission in Singapore during Inspreneur 2.0 for a product showcase. Farhan Firak earned his BE in Electronic and Communication from VTU and is also a recipient of Distinguished Alumnus Awards. His academic project was funded by Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology and was among India's top 50 innovations at Intel DST Challenge. He was a special prize winner at the Connected World Hackathon by Herman International and a winner of Socio Hacks by Hacker Earth and has mentored more than 100 students at various technical events. It was a great pleasure to introduce you, sir. Now, I would like to request our speaker, Mr. Farhan Firak sir, to take over the session.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Simran. This topic is very close to me because I feel that I am still a young graduate. I graduated 5 years back from a college in a rural town, and I have faced all kinds of challenges while getting a job and building my own company. And I started make career from my academic was for visually impaired. Then we got it commercialized and sold few pieces of that. And later on, I had a team called Team N6. We went on to hackathons. We went on to various technical events. We were invited by companies to test their products and hack them in a better way. The money which we raised from those hackathons was to start off a company. And later on, that company went on to win both national and international awards. As highlighted by my co-panelists, Ms. Ratna and Ms. Lakshmi, regarding building your career and how engineers can thrive in different sectors, starting from finance to oil industry to any part. You go to any company, whether it's in textile or whether it's in any different, even if it's a toy making company, you will find engineers at C-level staff. So this is the beauty of engineering, right? It's a backbone of each and every sector. Even if you go to Bombay Stock Exchange, you will find top stock traders who are engineers. And yeah, coming to today's point, I have a presentation. I will share that presentation. Do let me know once it's visible.
Visible, sir.
Got it. As I told you, this topic is very near to my heart. And I started my journey through my academic project and I went to various hackathons. And then my work is also featured in US Story and Rochester Business Journal. So let me start with today's agenda. So we have seen that this pandemic has left businesses, governments, and even startups in various various challenging conditions. Today, it has become critical for new graduates to find their way, right? Because the world is not the world which was a couple of years back. We are in a different world. It feels like we are in a different planet now. And today's agenda, I'll be talking about upskilling. I will be talking about how and why upskilling is necessary, skills that feed you, and the job seeker confusion, which even I had when I was a young grad, then building a career path using platforms, then using LinkedIn to seek for opportunities. So 10 years back, so this particular slide talks about importance of upskilling. 10 years back, we had this career of photography, wherein you had a pilot who used to fly this helicopter, then you had a cameraman. So now it looks something like this, right? You have an aerial drone and you have this for camera attached to this drone. Now you have to observe that here we had a helicopter pilot and a camera. Their skills are not that much in demand. If you see 10 years back, they had very huge demand, right? Now their profession has become into something like this. You have drone pilot, you have a drone training center in India, and the cameraman's role is turned out into a graphic designer, right? He does video editing, he does basic, he uses this Adobe XD and other tools to edit this video. You need to see the importance of upskilling. If these two guys have to survive, they need to adapt to these new skills. And as we have seen this work from home culture, tomorrow we might see something like this, wherein you will sit at your home and you will fly your drone. And technology updates for every 5 to 10 years, right? And this particular slide talks about why you need to be upskilled, right? I will explain this in even simple manner. Let's say you are a chef. Just cutting vegetables is not enough for you. Just cooking noodles is not enough for you. Just preparing omelets is not enough for you. If you want to become a master chef, you need to know all skills associated with cooking. Similarly, with tech industry, right? Knowing one simple language is not enough for you. You need to know different platforms, different languages, and you need to update yourself every quarter, right? You can follow these portals like Post, you can follow these portals like Hacker Earth, and you will get information on various upgrades. This is something which I even faced. It's called the job seeker confusion. So here you have a confused graduate, and here you have a job ready graduate. The biggest problem between recruiters and job seekers is lack of communication. Even if you're a perfectionist, even if you know different kind of technologies and you can't verbally explain that in layman's language to the recruiter, it will be very hard, right? And some of them might have not even selected the career path, right? Some of them might be preparing for the civil services. Some of them might be looking to go into any other non-technical domain. So they are confused about this career path, and most of them, they don't have practical experience or internship. I think nowadays video has made it compulsory for internship. There was a time when there was no rule of internship, and because the academics are always 10 or 20 years behind from the industry, and doing an internship will let you know what skills are needed for you to excel. And the other is, some of them are still in dilemma whether they want to go for a job or whether they want to do masters. If not job, masters. This is something which is going on in the country. If they are not willing to go for a job, they will simply jump onto masters, and it's like tossing a coin. Either they go for masters in technology or they go for an MBA. And a job ready graduate looks something like this. While studying itself, he will do on demand or in demand certifications, completes industry internships, might go to some hackathons, win them, and will be proficient in communication, and will be a good coder. Or even if he's a mechanical engineering guy, he might be a good CAD designer. This is what industry needs, and you can check more on this with Ms. Ratna. So first thing is, they need a candidate who is good in communication, right? And they need to add relevant skills for resume. If you are applying for a data science job, start from MS Excel, right? Most of engineers, right, they ignore Excel. They think that it is It is for people who are into accounting. But no, when I started my career into data science, I started it from learning basics of Excel from someone who does payroll management. Then the bonus points are internship and hackathon. Let's say you're applying for a core company, and if you have done some internship at Intel, the recruiter will give first preference to you. And this is a common passport for everyone, the aptitude and logical reasoning. Everyone must know this. So let's career path here. So let's imagine that there is a person called Miss Rita. She just graduated in computer science. She is interested in graphics and she knows basics of HTML and JavaScript. HTML and JavaScript are front-end development languages, right? And this is just an example, right? So she has to prepare her resume first. First thing is she has to know what she's interested in and what she knows. Based on that, she can upload these in any of the online platforms. There is a platform called Internshala for students who want to do internship. Then there is this Naukri.com. Then there is this third one called LinkedIn, which I will explain you later. So once you go here, once you apply there, so you will get into any trainee or internship role, right? Within 6 months, the tag of fresher will vanish from your head and you will end up as a developer, right? And then you will start learning these industry oriented frameworks, right? AngularJS, React.js, they will never gonna teach you in your college. You have to go to the industry and learn these things. At one point, I would say, let's in coming 2 years, Miss Rita here can become a senior associate or a manager, and she will be handling 10 more future Ritas. And this is a way to go in, right? First, you need to prepare for resume, apply on this platform, then get into it. And the salaries which they give you are enough to survive in any metro city because tech is surging like anything. So we'll talk about LinkedIn. I will not go into deep on how LinkedIn started, who started it. I will just term it as Facebook for professionals, right? In Facebook, you post your family pictures. In Facebook, you post your personal stuff. In LinkedIn, you post your you post your professional stuff. For example, if you go where you can for a promotion, you can post that. If you're seeking a job, you can post that. It's like Facebook for professionals. So how to use LinkedIn efficiently? First thing is choose a professional photo. I have seen a lot of students, right? They do modeling on LinkedIn, which is not needed. Once you become a professional, okay, you can have whatever picture you want. But having a professional picture will attract your recruiters. And write a good professional summary. Don't write something which you write on Instagram. Like you write something like this on Instagram, like your birthday is on so and so date, you love traveling, you are king of attitude, and also don't write those stuff on LinkedIn. Just write what you are interested in, and if you are a job seeker, just write that seeking job opportunity in so and so domain, right? And use endorsement. Let's say you have worked under your professor, ask your professor to endorse you. Let's say here Simran, if Simran has worked under Miss Thomas, she can ask Thomas to endorse her. Miss Thomas can write that she is a very good student. She has worked on so and so project and she knows so and so skills, right? And then any recruiter who comes down to your profile might see that and might see the endorsement from your professor, and that might add your chances on getting selected. Well, this is a common template of resume. You can find this online. I will not focus on that because this is for professional. I will next get on to the other slide. Now, let's say you want to find a job on LinkedIn, right? Just go to the jobs corner, select the country, select the skill, and start searching that. You will find the exact job which you are in search of. I will run through a practical thing on this. I will open my LinkedIn account and I will show you how to search a job as a young graduate on LinkedIn. I will just give me a second. I will open my LinkedIn. Do let me know if my profile is visible.
Yes, sir.
Got it. So if you see my profile, I work in fintech and deep tech domains. I'm a distinguished element. This is very basic summary of mine. Then if you go down and if you look at my summary, I have my mission statement for becoming an entrepreneur. Then I have what I'm working on, and I have news links of it wherever it is featured. Then I am founding team member at a US. Just mentioned. Then my volunteering experience. If you go a little bit down, I have some featured posts. So these you can find in Instagram. You can find Facebook, wherein I have got an award from Government of Maharashtra. I have put it there. I was featured here. Then we are also part of a Reliance Basecamp, Geogen Next. These are all news links. And Miss Sudha Murthy, wife of Narayan Murthy, visited our office. I had picture of that. Then if you go down a bit, I have my experience here, right? Where did I intern and what did I study and my volunteering experience. Then I have received recommendation from two of my colleagues. Then list of my awards, list of my, I can even include my patents, my applications, lot of things. Tomorrow, if I want to get into a job, I need not to share my resume. I just have to send the URL of this particular LinkedIn link, right? And that is enough for me. Now let's jump on to how to find jobs. So if you see on top right here, you will find this option called jobs here, right? Once you created your profile, right, just click on the jobs. Now let's say you are a recent graduate, and I will just enter internship in software, right? Then my experience is I'm looking for internship, I'm looking for an entry level job, right? If you see, there are so many opportunities here. There are 247 results here, and this is all happening from your smartphone or your mobile, right? So there are like technical is there, Cadence is looking. If you're a mechanical engineer and you want to get into Cadence, and based on my skill, it will also recommend me whether I should apply for this or not. For example, if you look at Cadence, I'm a top applicant here. I can apply here. Then I can also see if I want to remotely work for it, or I can directly apply for this from LinkedIn itself. Then I can also change the I want to search this Bangalore. Bangalore. There are 45 jobs for interns in Bangalore. I can easily tell none of you were aware about this, or every one of you were like giving your resumes to your placement officers, your this and that people, your friend circle. But see, from your smartphone, there are around 45 internships in Bangalore itself. Now, let's say I want to intern at this company called Cadence Design Systems. I just have to click on this. Here, there's a button called apply. I applied here, my profile will directly flow to them, and I will receive a call from the recruiter in next 5 days. Right? And they are actively recruiting for this role. Cadence is a very big company. And there are various platforms like this. You can go to Internshala, you can go to so many other places, right? Because not there is a rumor, there is a myth that engineers are unemployed, engineers are everywhere, there is no job for him. No, I tell you that unskilled engineers are unemployed. Skill, if you are a skilled engineer, you don't even need to go to any company. You can sit at your home and you can freelance, you can consult. I did it for 2 years. I didn't go for any company. I just completed my internship and I started working from my home itself. I had an account on a freelancing portal where I used to get projects from US, Israel, and so many places. And this was my, I think I have taken more than 20 minutes. So, Ms. Thompson. But I would like to end my talk. If you have any doubts or queries, feel free to ping. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed an information session. Now, it's time to take up participants' question. If anyone willing to ask the question, please proceed. Unmute yourself and please proceed.
Thank you. I think I have a question here, sir. I'm a second year mechanical student. Could you please tell me what skills I have to focus on developing as per current industry requirements? I think this is a question asked by Mr. Rahul. Rahul, I tell you to focus more on your curriculum for now, because you're still in your second year. I would ask you to go to internships once you are in your third year or final year, because there will be also an academic pressure, because end of the day your degree is your passport, right? Even if you are skilled, the basic requirement with any companies will be to have a degree. So you concentrate on this, but as you are a mechanical engineer, I would suggest you to concentrate more on CAD and concentrate more on mechatronics. Mechatronics is a new branch of it's a new branch which is a mixture of mechanical and electronics, because we are moving from combustible engines to EV engines, right? In 10 or 20 years, you will find only electric vehicles, and that is one thing. There is a company in Bangalore called Ather. Ather is actively hiring mechanical engineers and even interns. I would suggest you to concentrate on Cadence, and any other CAD tools. And also, if you want to get into research with respect to your design engineering, I would suggest you to have some good skills in MATLAB, because MATLAB is where you can simulate your mechanical drawings. Yes, any other questions? Sir, what are your thoughts about certifications from verified vendors like Microsoft? It's a good thing, Kirtan. And again, I would tell you to go for these things in your third or fourth year, because every year their versions change. Because if you are willing to get certified in Windows XP couple of years back, Windows XP is no more in the market. So it's a good thing. Cisco networking. Then there are courses from SAP too. SAP is always in demand. So I would first decide what you want to pursue, whether you want to go for support or whether you go for project manager. If you want to go for support and project manager roles, go for these courses from verified vendors like Microsoft or Cisco, but they're always useful. I would suggest you to go for this MCSE course from Microsoft, because IBM actively looks for that particular profile. It's called MCSE, note it down. And Cisco's networking is also a valid course to be done. And if you're looking more into getting into project management role, you can also get into this SAP courses. The next question is, sir, I'm studying third year electronics. I'm interested in civil services case, so I have a suggestion. Okay, you want a suggestion on this? So this is why we need proper communication. Okay. Third year electronics. I'm interested in civil services. I am not that well versed in civil services, because civil services is, yeah, at one point I wanted to get into this military engineer services, wherein even armed forces they employ engineers. So that is one, but I am not aware of how to get into this civil services. But again, few of my friends, one of my friends cleared prelims of UPSC, and he studied in Delhi. There is an institute called Wajiram in Delhi. Even there are good institutes in Bangalore too. I'm not endorsing any kind of institutes, but Delhi's there are a lot of institutions in Delhi's Karol Bagh, and of the famous one is Wajiram. So they do also online courses, I think, these days. You see into that. The next question is from Sushma. Sir, I'm a third year electronic student. Please suggest me about skills and internships, sir. Okay, you're a third year. Sushma, if you want to get into data science, I would suggest you to start from Python, basic Python. And there is one more programming language called R. So which will basically help you to become a data analyst. If you want to get into development, if you want to get into software world, I would suggest you to start from these basic languages like JavaScript and AngularJS and other things. And if you want to get into core industry, I will just tell you about electronics core industry. It's very hard to get into electronics core industry. The job is in demand, they pay heavily, but they hire few. So that is the reality of electronics engineering. For example, If a software company is hiring 100 people, a core electronics will hire only 10 best people, right? So think before getting into core. And most of the core companies, they start hiring from tier 1 institutes. It's very rare that they will come to small engineering colleges. But still, since you're a third year student and still you are exploring how to get into this things, I would suggest you to learn, since you have done your electronics, you study these embedded systems, right? And in that you studied a bit of embedded C. Once you learn embedded C, you will understand programming languages. Then you switch to JavaScript. So within next 1 year, if you become well versed in JavaScript, you are a job ready candidate. I would suggest you to build your profile on Internshala. Then, sir, I'm an electronics and electrical. Please suggest me. Since you are from, okay, Aishwarya, since you are from electrical and electronics, I would suggest you to study this concepts of renewable engineering, right? Because world is moving towards this renewable source, and green energy is something which everyone is looking at, and EV is also in trend. So there are no courses from it. I think IIT Gandhinagar, no, IIT Kanpur, I think currently has these courses on electric vehicle design and all, but I don't know whether they are live or not. So to all engineers, I tell you that learn any one programming language. If you learn any one programming language, then it will be very easy for you to adapt to any of the other programming language. Even if you're not even if you're not a, what you call, see, my sister, she is a BCom graduate, and I have taught her R programming language. She works in a payroll department, but I told her that someday if you want to get promoted to a senior level, at least be in a position to become a data analyst. To know that, you need to learn this R programming language. And I have taught her Java. Even she has done her BCom, right? She has done her BCom. She's of your age, and I have taught her both JavaScript and this R programming language. So anyone who is an engineer, even if you're a civil engineer, at least learn MATLAB. Sir, I am in second year CSE. Please suggest me what skills and courses that I require. Tanuja. See, Tanuja, the thing is, since you are in second year, I would like you to concentrate on your basic subjects for now, because this is a time where you will learn about OOPS, object-oriented programming systems, data structures, and all. So be proficient in that first. Then think about doing these extracurriculars and additional courses in your third year, right? As of now, please concentrate on your existing curriculum. Okay, Tanuja sir, being a data, what are your thoughts on data analytics? How do you think data analysts complement data scientists? It's a tug of war, Tanuja, between data analysts and data scientists, because both of them are like husband and wife. If you don't have proper data, it's very hard for you to build any model, right? So data analysts, what they do is they filter out some data for us. They give that proper data to us, and then we build models on that. I really don't care about compliments, because if I'm paid good, that's the biggest compliment, right? Right? You get paid well and you pay taxes. That's the best way to serve your country. Hello, sir. Bhavana. Hello, sir. I'm in third year EC. Our core company is giving out internships in pandemic. It's a bit hard to get into core company. Core companies are giving. Intel is giving. Then Samsung is giving. Everyone is giving internships. But the thing is, since pandemic is going on, remotely work on any core project, it's very hard, right? Because you need to solder a few things, you need to design a PCB thing, you need to build some circuits and all. I would suggest you to build your profile on internshala.com or LinkedIn and try searching for it. Even if you are, I think most of you are from Mysore. Mysore also has a 1 or 2 core company, and apart from Mysore, there is a place called Hubli. There too, we have a very big core company called Sankalp Semiconductors. You build your profile and try sharing it. Don't stop. See, to be successful, you need to build an habit, and that habit is called being unstoppable. I used to ping 10, 15. I think I got my your recruiters. This is Pratik, right? Sir, I'm a final year engineering student In what domain should I pursue my career? Thought I have interest in data science, but in technical job they are paying less. Pratik, it depends on the company, and small companies in India they are known to exploit their employers. It's not a hidden truth. But if you go for bigger companies, see, most of you don't have your accounts on LinkedIn. That's why you have this myths that entry level jobs pay less. Yes, if you go for small companies, the advantage of working for a small company is that you get paid less, but you will get more experience and more exposure, because the job which is done by 10 people in a big company, in small companies, one person will be doing that. For example, when I was interning for a e-commerce company, they hired me as a marketing guy, but I was also their front-end developer. I was also their back-end developer, right? I did marketing, I sold stuff, I did door-to-door sales, then I also did front-end development and back-end development. Don't think like that. If you get into a corporate like TCS or Infosys, even TCS and Infosys, they also hire. And as you're a fresher, they will not directly get into data science or image processing, right? First, they will take you, then there will be a probation year for a year where they will also train you. Then at one point you will become a software engineer. Then after that you can get into data science. But if you really want to start your career from data science, I would suggest you to follow Analytics Vidya. Analytics Vidya trains students, and they also have this online magazine. And apart from that, there are good courses by Upgrade, wherein they are training people into data science. Okay, Kirtana Goda has a question. Sir, should we start preparing on particular domain or be good, as I am currently studying? See, those who are in of your first year and second year, I would suggest you to concentrate on your curriculum. Because right, once you're building a home, you need to first build a proper basement for that. So once your basement is strong, that's when you can have a very big home. Because if you're in second year of your degree and you know basics of data structures, basics of OOPS, it will be very hard for you to grasp those industry level concepts. So complete your second year, then after building your second year, see, whatever I'm telling, it's not something new. You can just Google this on internet and you will find this. If you go to YouTube, there are a lot of career counselors there, right? And the best person to guide you is your placement officer, because your placement officer will be seeing a lot of companies hiring for a lot of different domains. Go to your placement officer, ask him or her about the current industry standards, what are they hiring for, what profiles they're looking for. Most of these big corporates like Infosys and TCS, right, they just want your good aptitude, your good percentage, and they will take you in. But when it comes to small companies, even pay high. If you go to this companies, recently started companies, there is a company called Cred. The starting package starts from 8 lakh per annum. It's a startup. There's one more startup called Bharat Pay. I'm talking about our particular industry. It's just a 2-year-old startup, and they pay at least from 10 lakh per annum. Sir, what is this, Kirtana Goda? Sir, what is the scope of preparing for machine? There are tons of scope, Kirtana. Machine learning is like a very big domain, and don't just go for graphics or see, when a trainer or someone comes to your college, right, he will have these graphics of robots and futuristic spacecrafts and everything. He shows that that is bullshit. That is not under machine learning. Machine learning is completely statistics plus math, right? Don't think that machine learning is something like that Rajnikant movie of robot, right? Machine learning is purely statistics. Statistics is the one which you study in your school, taking average of a sequence, doing arithmetic progression, this and all. If you really want to learn machine learning, have a friend who has a bachelor's degree in commerce, because that's where you're going to start from. Where I have a good knowledge on web development, I want to exceed on it. So want to know React.js or AngularJS. Okay, Ajay is asking that he is good in web development. React.js. So I would suggest you to go for a mean stack. But if you really want to know whether, see, different companies have different requirement, and both of them are good. Just learn JavaScript, and if you can learn both the what you call this frameworks, React and Angular. But as I have seen from couple of days, React is in demand, but there is nothing called, see, there is, again, I am going to clear one myth. There is nothing called this is a good language, this is a bad language. Every language has its own pros and cons. Every language has its own beauty of solving the problem. There is nothing called, see, for example, if you see Kannada film industry, you have this Punit Rajkumar and Ganesh. Ganesh is fit for romantic movies and Punit Rajkumar is fit for action movies. You can't just compare them, he's best, he's worst, right? Both of them has their own set of acting skills, then own set of taste. So don't compare that which is better language to learn and which is not to learn. You should be in a position to learn any language. So what are the skills? Bhavana is asking, sir, what are the skills industry demands for embedded systems engineer? First, you need to learn, I think in your 7th or 8th semester, you will get to know about this embedded systems course, wherein you will learn about this water cycle, Agile methodology, and lot of other things. But if you really want to get an entry-level job into embedded system, be good with embedded C. Embedded C is taught you in your 4th semester with you. I think you have microcontroller and microprocessor. Just study that. Embedded C is something which you need to learn. Poonama is asking, sir, will embedded systems and artificial provide a good place for a code? Yes, it will. Because I will give an example. Self-driving cars are example of artificial intelligence and embedded systems. In self-driving cars, you have a sensor called LiDAR. LiDAR is a sensor which guides this self-driving car. So it's a mixture of embedded systems and artificial intelligence. It's a good thing. You can get into that. Sir, can you give me information about design field in electrical like AutoCAD, PCB, scope, and job opportunities? There is a concept of microelectronics. I would suggest you to study that first. And okay, these skills are in demand, but they look for a perfectionist. Srisha Kumar, yeah. So it's good to have it as a skill, but I would also tell you to learn MATLAB or any other programming language. They have good scope, but they don't pay as for example, if you go to a small company and you are a software developer, they will pay you a good package so that you can sustain in a tier 1 or a metro city. But it's very hard to get that kind of pay if you're going for this particular one, because in US and all, they pay very good salaries for these particular skills. For example, $125K is something which they pay per annum to a PCB designer in US. In India, it's very hard to get that kind of package. So Tanuja is asking, sir, what are your thoughts on skills required for non-coding jobs in tech industry, and what should be the starting point with fintech? Fintech is something which I made my career into. Okay, I will talk about what we do in fintech. So I was consulting a data science project on voice recognition. Then after that, I was fed up with this consulting company after company, and I started my own. And at so we are a company called Microchip Payments, and we have built a product called VoicePay. What VoicePay does is it takes your voice commands and it processes your transaction. And we do it without internet. We are also featured in Your Story for that, because if you go to rural India, it's very hard for you to catch proper internet connectivity, since we do everything over a phone call. And it got award from Maharashtra government, Karnataka government, and it even won an international award. We are live in India, we are live in US. This is something which we also integrated this with Amazon Alexa. So what are your skills required for non-coding job in tech industry, and what should be a starting point to start with fintech? I would suggest you to go with compliance, right? If you are looking for a non-coding job, that too into fintech, as Miss Lakshmi highlighted, the importance of compliance and legal things. So you can either become a patent agent or you can have an LLM. But if you don't want to do both, you can become a PCI consultant. For example, while we are building a payment system, you need to check whether we are compliant or not. Compliant in the sense you need to do audit. I think you might have heard about this profession of auditor, right? So similarly, you can become an auditor of compliance, wherein you can check whether we are compliant or not. So for example, we are doing payments, and by compliance, we should not store any user credentials. What happens is some small companies, right, they store user credentials, then later on they hack them, right? You as a compliance officer, you can check whether we are storing those credentials or not. Then you can certify us. Then you can give us an audit report that we are certified. Amazon hires compliance officers. Amazon hires freshers to become compliance officers, because in India, I don't know, but if in US, if you're not compliant, they will fine you in thousands of crores. For example, European Union fined thousands of crores as fine to Google for not following the GDPR compliance. So you can get into compliance business or compliance as your profession. Sir, which will you prefer, MTech or MBA? See, the thing is, if you want to specialize in particular technology, go for MTech. Let's say you have done your bachelor's in electronics and you want to do your specialization in signal processing, you can do your master's in signal processing. Or if you want to become a biomedical engineer, you can do your master's in medical electronics. Since I am into data science, if at some point, if I want to do an MTech, I will do it in data science. I think PESIT, RV, these guys are having that MTech program. MBA is one if you want to get into marketing or get into sales, or it depends on you, right? It's not like if I do that, I will become this, and if I do that, I will become that. It depends on your particular interest. Okay, I think we are done with questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Farhan sir, for patiently answering all the questions.
Yes, thanks.
In the chat box, Rachana has put the question. The question is to Ratnaprabha ma'am. What inspired you to name your company as Vividhata? Ratnaprabha ma'am.
Hi, did you call out my name? I'm so sorry. So I thought Sir was so, patiently answering everyone's question. So I think I just muted myself and I said, I'm going to wait patiently. What was the question again?
What inspired you to name your company as Vividhata?
Oh, okay. So Vividhata means diversity. Okay, and our primary focus as a company has always been to work towards diverse workforces, work towards diverse organizations, and ensure that all types of different people are assimilated at different types of organizations very well, right? So we do a lot of strategy consulting around diversity as well. We do a lot of sensitization workshops around how to include LGBTQ folks or people with disabilities or even women of women across sectors. How do we ensure that they are included at the workplace? Is something that we work on. So diversity is the focus of the of the concept of the company itself, and we thought, why not name it diversity itself? So Vividta in Hindi or Devanagari script basically, or Marathi for that matter. These are the languages that translate Vividta to diversity. Yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Simran.
As we come to end of the event, I request Dr. Shrikant sir to give concluding remarks about the today's session. Over to you, Shrikant sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a really very good initiative from Mysore subsection. I would really thank all the speakers, starting from IVS Lakshmi, Ratna, and then Farhan. In fact, the session was more of question and answers. It was really good opportunity for the students to explore after their engineering course is completed. So all the three speakers gave different way how they can improve upon their placements in future and what company they can go ahead. Especially, I think as far as Farhan is concerned, it's really great that he has done on his own to start with his career consultancy, and he has shown like LinkedIn and all those things. So there is no need to panic. Totally, in a nutshell, what I can tell you, for a skilled engineer, I'm not telling you about an unskilled engineer. Definitely, there will not be absolutely no problem for skilled engineers to get job in any sector. Maybe they may go for software, or they may go for hardware or core industries, anything. So with that one actually, and also both Lakshmi Madam and then Ratna, they have described about especially Professor Dr. Lakshmi told about the avenues in the public sector and government because she works for CDOT. And Ratna also told about what is data and all those things, and they gave a lot of inputs for our students. It is more informative. I think we need people like you in future for our engineering graduates throughout our Karnataka. Probably, I think in the days to come, we may arrange these kind of expert talks from yours. I mean, the speakers who spoken today. So totally, it was a wonderful, wonderful talk. Okay, more informative and also interactive. So with that one, definitely, finally, thank all the speakers. Then Dr. Bindu, Dr. Parmeshwachari, also my student friends, Rachana, Pooja, for having collaborated with the Mysore subsection from IEEE MC student branch. And also I would like to thank my colleague, Dr. Indra Badur, and also I would like to thank all the participants who have participated in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shrikant sir.
Welcome.
I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. YVS Lakshmi ma'am, for insights into the topic. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Farhan Firaq sir too, for giving us very informative talk. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot for having me today.
I also thank our speaker, Ms. Ratna Prabha Sable ma'am, for giving us instruction. We would like to present our memento token of gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you, Simran. Thank you, everyone.
Now, I would like to thank our chair, Bindu A. Thomas ma'am, and our chair-elect, Parmeshachari sir, for their constant support and guidance. I also thank to Dr. P.C. Shrikant sir and Dr. Indira Bahadur ma'am for their valuable contribution and encouragement in our all efforts. I also thank all the event coordinators and staff for making this event successful. I heartily thank all the participants for attending the webinar. Thank you all. Have a great evening.